This military story is absolutely infuriating to me. As you know, I've long been absolutely opposed to the bloated, massive size of our military budget. At $750 billion a year, it is more than all other nations combined. And then on top of that, it's 10 times that when you combine all of the other nations combined. Just look at this. Look at China, which we've absolutely made into a total boogeyman, right? And by the way, Chuck Schumer is pushing a new military budget bill in the House of Representatives to put more focus on China. And meanwhile, do you know what China does? Yeah, they have a large military, but you know what they spend a majority of their money on? Infrastructure. Infrastructure. The United States is quibbling over bus lines for people of color in the United States. Literally. And rail systems that are falling apart. And that's what they're arguing about. And yet we can all come to agree. Oh, 778. I said 748. $770 billion. Look at Russia. Look at India. Look at all of these countries combined, and we just crush them. Absolutely crush them. So the Senate Armed Services Committee has now approved a $778 billion defense policy bill. They just now added an additional $25 billion to Biden's defense budget. More to the defense budget than the Biden administration had requested. So Biden didn't even ask for this. So I'll read from this. The Senate Armed Services Committee, the funding boost would go entirely to the Pentagon, giving the department $740 billion compared to Biden administration's request for $715 billion. The remainder of the budget goes to non-Pentagon defense programs, such as the Energy Department's nuclear weapons programs. The increase was approved as a Republican-proposed amendment. So Republicans proposed this to the National Defense Authorization Act. By the way, this received bipartisan support when the committee met behind closed doors to consider the bill on Wednesday night. So they meet behind closed doors. The American people don't hear about it. There's no television coverage of it. It passed with only 3 people. It passed with a 23-3 vote. 23-3. Everyone was on board. I love this quote. I'm proud. This is from James Inhofe of Oklahoma. Says, I'm proud that the bipartisan Senate Armed Services Committee could come together to put service members first. I love that spin, don't you? We're putting service members first. Let me ask you this. What the hell does putting service members first have to do with you approving $25 billion extra dollars that go towards nuclear weapons? How does that put service members first, you liar?
Is there an increase in soldier pay? I'm expecting now because of that. I'm expecting a good $100,000 a year bump for everybody in the military, right?
No, absolutely not. No, more nuclear weapons because that's something we really need to ramp up is nuclear weapons.
It's not enough to end the world completely in a nuclear blast. We got to do it 10 times over.
Mm-hmm. 10 times over, and now $25 billion extra dollars. And he says, look, I support my amendment. So this is the guy, James Inhofe. This is his additional, like anybody watching from Oklahoma right now, call your senator. Demand that they actually support an infrastructure bill rather than supporting an increase in defense spending. Again, this is the kind of thing where you have to throw these types of corrupt people out of office because all of this money comes right back into his pocket, by the way. These guys who run and they line the pockets of these defense contractors, they just make all of that money back on campaign contributions. All of these big companies end up funneling money to these campaigns. He says, thank you for supporting my amendment to sufficiently increase defense spending. I'm sorry, was this not enough before? We need to sufficiently increase our defense spending in the United States because that's not enough right there. What is sufficient at this point? I mean, I don't get it. He says, while no bill has everything I want, I'm proud to support this bill because it provides the appropriate increase in funding our needs. What is an appropriate increase?
My big take is needs. That word needs, funding our needs. We need 10 times more nuclear weapons than everybody else has.
Do you guys, I mean, needs, what needs? Nick McKnight in our chat says, defense from what? Yeah, defense from what? Like, this is not enough already to defend ourselves from what? What is our, so we're now ramping things up in Afghanistan again? We're supposed to be leaving Afghanistan and now we're ramping things up there? You know, I mean, this is the kind of crap that we're like, you know, we have the General, what's his name, the other day saying, you know, we're going to continue airstrikes.
The United States has increased airstrikes in the support of Afghan forces over the last several days, and we're prepared to continue this heightened level of support in the coming weeks if the Taliban continue their attacks.
Great. So you're leaving Afghanistan. We should be able to wind down the amount we're spending, and yet now we're ramping up the amount we're spending, and you're also leaving, but we're also going to just continue airstrikes? Like, this is absolutely infuriating. Absolutely infuriating.
Well, it's also infuriating that like I just can't get over that the word needs, because like housing for everybody is not a need. Food is not a need. Like healthcare is not a need. Education is not a need. Like that's I like the mental gymnastics it takes to say stuff like that, to where like, you know, all of these things, these are just liberal agendas. We can't have free education, free healthcare. You know, we can't support the homeless, but damn it, we need more nukes. We need more nukes.
We need more nukes. And I love how in this piece, you know, in the Hill piece, it says Republicans had been complaining for months that President Biden's defense budget request was inadequate in the face of threats from China and Russia. Biden's $753 billion defense budget represented a slight bump from the Trump administration's last defense budget of $740 billion. And this is, you know, again, we have a Senate that is split 50-50. They can't agree on anything. But hey, behind closed doors, they can very quickly roll out a defense budget and add $25 billion to the bottom line. Devin Pearson says, defense from ourselves, I suppose. I mean, yeah. Who are we worried about? So we're worried about China. We're worried about Russia. Republicans have been complaining for months that President Biden's defense budget request was inadequate in the face of threats from China and Russia. Threats from China and Russia. So we need a new boogeyman, right? We need to make sure that these are the bad guys. We need to pretend that these guys are coming after us, right? And look at that. Is that not already sufficient? How much we spend on military compared to the next largest military in the world, 11 countries combine. We crush them, and yet we need more. The Spickle Thinker says, yeah, we're leaving, but our drones are staying. Exactly, in Afghanistan. Yeah, we're going to get out of there, but our drones will stay. Yeah, we'll continue these air raids in Afghanistan. So the money continues, guys. I mean, it's amazing to me that no matter how large the budget, there's always a list of unfunded requirements. And it strikes me as simply a forcing mechanism to, no matter what, force money into the system. So the House Armed Services Committee Chairman Adam Smith says, I think the budget is sufficient. He's on the committee, so he voted against it. He says, I think it's sufficient. Really? The thing is, progressives only wanted to actually cut the defense budget by 10%. They wanted to cut it by 10%. Now, compared to Trump, it's more than President Trump. It's more than President Trump spent on defense. Isn't that amazing? Under Biden, who fundamentally said nothing would change when I'm president. And when we warned you that he was going to be just like Republicans when it comes to defense spending. You think we're going to roll back the amount of money we're pouring into the military-industrial complex that line the pockets of these defense contractors? No way. It's not going to happen. It's so pumped up about this. Drop me a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this if you're as mad as I am about this. And we can't pay for housing. We can't pay for stimulus checks. We can't do anything. But we can do this. We can take care of this really, really quickly, efficiently.
Is there anybody that, like, the biggest stressor in their life is a worry in the United States that we're going to be invaded by a foreign country? Or is the biggest stressor really financial, like that not enough food, not enough for housing, not enough left over after everything? So it's like when you look at the population, nobody's really lying awake at night. I mean, maybe a handful of people are lying awake at night, worried that China's going to invade us. But there are just tens of millions of people that just have food insecurity, housing insecurity, and this is what we can all agree on. This is what the government can come together on and be like, no, this is what we need.
No, that's really well said. That's really well said. I mean, you guys in the chat, why don't you answer Philip's question? Like, how many of you lay awake at night worrying about, and by the way, why is North Korea not on the list anymore? But that was the boogeyman a number of years ago. Now we're
I forgot about them.
Yeah.
Are they still around?
Are you are you laying awake at night thinking about, like, worried about China? Are you laying awake at night worried about Russia? No, I bet you what you're lying awake at night about is worrying about money. How are you going to pay your bills? Worrying about your health and how you're going to take care of your family. You're not worried about China. And by the way, my brother was in the first Gulf War. He was in the Navy, and he was among the first wave inside of Baghdad during the first Gulf War in the 90s under George H.W. Bush. And I wasn't worried about Iraq invading us. I didn't lay awake at night thinking about that at all. I was fascinated by watching it on CNN, and I, at the time, of course, was fascinated, to know what hopefully he was safe and all of that. But I wasn't worried that Iraq was coming to our door. A war over oil. Yeah. Bruce says, China and Russia don't even come to my mind. Jason Frank says, mark my words, huge cyber attack is coming. Okay. So if that's the focus, right? $750 billion a year that we're really worried about cyber attacks. That's the new front in this war. And what are we spending it on? We're spending it on military incursions around the world in Somalia and Afghanistan and Yemen and other places. We're building massive aircraft carriers. We're building all kinds of jet aircraft that the military doesn't even want or need. And that's confirmed, by the way. I've heard from different pilots that say, like, the amount that they spend and the ridiculous aircraft that they have on order, they don't even want to fly. According to my sources, the amount of military waste is unbelievable. So if that is the case, if that is the new war that we need to worry about, then you know what? Reposition that $750 billion. Reposition it into cybersecurity instead of gas masks and aircraft that we don't need, because all future war has changed now. Great. So then that $25 billion added to your budget is now just for nuclear weapons? Okay, where's the threat of cybersecurity? That's what we should be focused on? Great. Then let's get smarter with our budget. You know what? Let's just scrap all of those aircraft because we don't need them anymore. Garbage. Garbage, garbage. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. You can also become a channel member by going to morninginvest.com/join, where you can stick it to the mainstream media and support independent journalism. We're able to bring you the stories that you won't see on any of the major billionaire-backed networks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, everyone.